The future is coming. You see it. It's just around the corner. You can make it. You can change it. But you can't escape it. Making your way in endless street. Only for a moment, 'cause time is a thief. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Diverge Media. I am the owner of Diverge Media, Greg Staley. Tonight, we're going to have a pretty important one, but I want this to get across for everyone here that this isn't necessarily a new ordeal, what we're going to be talking about tonight. In fact, it's been going on since the very beginning of this, but we will discuss why it is so important, and I'm glad that it is coming to the limelight now. So there's a lot of big rumors, I guess, swirling around. We're going to do our best to address them, and we'll go from there. Again, now I've added in the comment section our link. If you want to join us at the end of this conversation for Q&A, we can actually bring you into the live stream. We would love to have audience members give kind of their perception of what's going on. And we'll have a bit of a Q&A and chat after that. But let's get into it. I'm not going to waste too much time here, but bear with me because I am stupid slow when it comes to working myself around this program. But here we are. So it started off with this. So Jordan Peterson put this out. In fairness to Mark Friesen, PPC candidate for Saskatoon, he put this out a few weeks ago, and I couldn't find the information at the time to verify it, so I did not say anything about it. But at the end of the day, here is Jordan Peterson talked about it and decided to do a little more digging, and I found what he was looking at. Now, he says, am I the only one who finds this level of ascription of power during this emergency just a trifle excessive? Now, he shared something specifically from the nurses union, I believe, in Saskatchewan. I'm not sure if it's Saskatoon, but here it is. And it's not, again, this is not new. This is the same information. Over here, I want to show everyone this, sorry. Declaration of a state of emergency throughout the province of Saskatchewan to address COVID-19 public health measures, September 13th, 2021. Now, you may have seen this going around. Here's the minister's order here. I have it loaded. Same thing. Jordan Peterson posted it from, I believe, the nurses union had posted about it. But we're going to go into it, and we're going to talk about how this really isn't new. So we're going to read the first sentence here, and we're going to bounce around a little bit. By order of the Lieutenant Governor and Council 465-2021, dated September 13th, 2021, a declaration of emergency has been made for the province of Saskatchewan to address the COVID-19 public health emergency. Now, they reference sections 18 and 18.1 of the Emergency Planning Act. The reason that is important, we'll swing over here. Back here. Sorry, everyone. I got multiple screens I'm going between here. So, the reason it's important is it's not a new thing. This has already happened. Oh, what are we doing here? All right. We're knocked out. Here we go. So this one marked March 20th, 2020. COVID-19 additional measures to protect Saskatchewan residents. Now they say expanded public health emergency. Health order for mandatory self-isolation gatherings. Now they reference again the Public Health Act. So the reason we're talking about this now is they're referencing the same thing in March of 2020 as they are just recently on September 13th, 2021. So right off the hop, let's just get it straight. This isn't new information. This isn't new information, but it's finally information that seems to be breaking through the barriers that people have had up about this kind of information for quite some time. And so that is good. That is a very important thing. Now, Jordan Peterson posting on this is, it made me dig back through it. We found the actual publication from the Saskatchewan government. Now, here's what's in it in the Public Health Act. Now, my understanding is that Alberta has implemented something similar under their Public Health Act. Haven't read through that one. I'm not going to comment on it tonight. But here is the order itself. Let's read through it together, everyone. Okay. Oh, we don't want that. Okay, so the power of administer in an emergency, 18.1. So again, this is from the Emergency Planning Act. This isn't new. This doesn't mean it's going to happen. It doesn't mean it has happened. It's already been done under the same act before. I want to get this very clear off the hop. But what is different between now and March of 20th of 2020 is that there has been a rollout of vaccines that are supposed to prevent hospitalizations, supposed to prevent death, supposed to lower cases. And so we're looking at a disease that has less than about 2 to 3% hospitalization rate, depending on your age stratification. Lower, the younger your age, the lower the chance of hospitalization. And then, so again, March 20th, they implemented the same order. We thought it was going to be a temporary order to deal with the emergency. Again, the arguments made here that you don't want, an emergency act that you have to tiptoe around rights in a time of true and genuine emergency. But again, I don't know that we're in that situation. I would say go and consult the Government of Canada, Public Health Agency of Canada, and other official sources. I'm just some guy giving his opinion at this time. I recommend you go to those official sources for more information. But again, rollout has happened. March 20th, we thought this was a temporary measure. We're at September. We're in October now, October 1st. But this was implemented September 13th, 2021. And what does it say? In the Emergency Planning Act, Section 18.1 says, on the making of an emergency declaration or a renewal of an emergency declaration, and during the emergency period, the minister may A, put into operation any emergency plan or program that the minister considers appropriate. Lot of power in that statement. B, authorize or require a local authority to put into effect any emergency plan for the municipality. C, assume direction and control of the emergency response of a local authority. D, acquire or utilize any real or personal property that the minister considers necessary to prevent, combat, or alleviate the effects of an emergency. E, authorize any qualified person to render aid of a type that the person is qualified to provide. F, control or prohibit travel to or from any area of Saskatchewan. Now, we'll slow down here and we'll recall that at one point, the Toronto Police were tasked with kind of the same thing here in Ontario. Doug Ford had asked them to kind of set up roadblocks. They basically went, go fly a kite. We're not doing that. But where does that stem from? It stems from this order that we're reading through. And so this, again, this isn't new. This has been ongoing, but hopefully this is a jolt. This is a giant wake-up call for the Canadian populace that we're all the way down the road now, and we're still implementing these same measures that were being implemented when we didn't know anything, when we didn't have a vaccine, when we didn't have other therapies and more knowledge about what we were dealing with. That should be the big takeaway here. Let's continue through. Provide for the restoration of essential facilities and distribution of essential supplies. Moving down, we're at H. Provide, maintain, and coordinate emergency medical, welfare, law enforcement, and other essential services in any part of Saskatchewan. I, cause the evacuation of persons and the removal of persons or livestock and personal property from any area of Saskatchewan that is or may be affected. Now this, again, I'm not a legal expert. Consult the official government sources, but this is directly from that Emergency Planning Act. We're reading directly from it. The official government source. Check it out yourself. And then I would recommend messaging MLAs with your concern. Be polite. Quote directly from the government's own documentation of what you're concerned about. Call them, leave them a quick 1-minute message. You can check out our Twitter at Diverge Media at Diverge Media _ on Twitter. We posted something from Matea Marta, great little summary of what to do to get the attention of an MLA. That's a member of the Legislative Assembly, and how you can actually get them to understand your concerns. And one of the things she recommends is daily a short email and a link and just like a short paragraph. Check this out. This is my concern. And then kind of, I need your voice on this. And same with a quick minute phone call. Be polite again. But that would be an important step we could take with these concerns. I'm not sure what to make of it again. But again, we're a year out, same measures of what was supposed to be a temporary emergency use, but now we're here again, we're using it again. So this is the takeaway. I'm not going to go gloom and doom on you. I'm not going to tell you things that I can't prove. I'm just simply reading from the government source itself, and I'm going to raise some logical questions through the Socratic method, and you can do with that information what you will. That's really what I try to be all about here at Diverge Media. Now, continuing down, I want to read that one again. Cause the evacuation of persons and the removal of persons or livestock and personal property from any area of Saskatchewan that is or may be affected by an emergency, and make arrangements for the adequate care and protection of those persons or livestock and of the personal property. It's meaning, so it might move you from an area. I'm assuming that's what they're talking about here. What's the threshold for that? I'm not sure. It's what the minister would deem appropriate based on what the emergency measures are saying here. Now, does that mean it's going to happen? No. Does that mean it has happened? No. Again, I'm going to keep trying to drill this home. I don't want people to run with this and say, Diverge Media says some crazy stuff. No, we're trying to be matter of fact about what's going on. Continuing on here. J, authorize the entry into any building or any land without warrant by any person in the course of implementing an emergency plan. K, cause the demolition of removal of trees, structures, crops, and demolition of removal is necessary to appropriate in order to reach the scene of the emergency. That doesn't apply here. This one was interesting. L, procure or fix prices for food, clothing, fuel, equipment, medical supplies, or other essential supplies in the use of any property, services, resources, or equipment within any part of Saskatchewan during the emergency period. What do you mean fix prices? Under this order, as long as they continue to renew this emergency order, the minister will have the ability to procure or fix prices for food, clothing, fuel, equipment, medical supplies, or other essential supplies, and the use of any property, services, resources, or equipment within any part of Saskatchewan during the emergency period. Continuing, cause information to be collected, use, or disclose that the minister is satisfied is necessary to prevent, combat, or alleviate the effects of the emergency and for no other purpose. So this, in my mind, I don't know, not confirmed. This is me spitballing my opinion, but what information might be collected? It might be phone data, mobility data, things that have already been used by the Ontario government here. Now, here's another one that I found interesting. M, Section 18.1 of the, let's go back up here. If you're following along at home, you want to look into it yourself, Section 18 and 18.1 of the Emergency Planning Act. This is what we're referencing here. Continuing on, M, Section 18 of that Act, M, conscript persons needed to meet an emergency. Whoa, that's interesting. Conscription of persons needed to meet an emergency, meaning, hey, you have a background in such and such, we need such and such. Maybe you're a truck driver for the military, they need truck drivers, and you're going to be conscripted into that role. Again, hasn't happened, doesn't mean it will happen, but this is what the order says could be a possibility. And I think it's important that we know where we're at here. This shouldn't be normal, and it especially shouldn't be normal this far down the road where we are with new knowledge and how to handle this and end the vaccines, all these things. Again, March 20th, 2020 might have made sense, in my opinion, right? And I don't think it makes sense now. We'll continue on here. Do all acts and take all proceedings that are reasonably necessary to meet the emergency. Now, 18.1 says, Section 18 and every other order made pursuant to Section 18 prevail in the case of any conflict with any other act, regulation, order, collective agreement, or other law. Meaning this is supposed to supersede that. So Scott Moe signs it off. All persons are required to comply with any orders made by the Minister of Health pursuant any orders by the Minister of Health pursuant to the Public Health Act 1994 to the extent that the order does not conflict with this order or any other order pursuant to Section 18 of the Emergency Planning Act. B, all persons are required to comply with any orders issued by the Office of the Chief Medical Officer to the extent that the order does not conflict with this order or any other order pursuant to Section 18 of the Emergency Planning Act. Continue. C, all persons are required to comply. So again, they're just reiterating. You can go through. We'll leave it at that. But we're going to flip back to Jordan Peterson here. Has been kind of on a tear on this tonight, and I thought it was interesting, so I'm going to bring that to everyone's attention. Apparently, I have the wrong screen up. Let's remove that. Sorry, everyone. Back here. And here we are. So coming down here, right about here. So he started off with that original one we read out earlier. It says, not only can the minister now do anything, but he can compel you to do anything. I'd rather face COVID, which I've already had and been vaccinated for twice, than this government edict. Again, this is Jordan Peterson's words, not my words. And so, he's been back and forth. Somebody posted, I thought this was pretty good. If you let them take your rights during an emergency, they will continue to manufacture emergencies to take your rights. Language very much reminiscent of Canada's War Measures Act from 1914. There's another comment by Jordan Peterson. It's our rights the terrorists threaten. So somebody said, I guess during a terrorist attack, we wait for our rights to protect us. The logical inconsistency here is baffling. Basically talking about what I touched on earlier. When we're in a legitimate case of emergency, you don't want to have to wait around for long periods of time to figure out what you can do when you really need to do it. But this is the thing. Again, I'm going to reiterate this. March 20th of 2020, this was put out. This isn't new, but we're at October 1st of 2021 with vaccines being rolled out. Again, check out the official government sources. This is just my opinion. I'm not the official government source, so please go to those sources. But we're a long ways down the road from there. This was supposed to be a temporary measure to deal with things until we knew better. Well, I think we know better now. We know that we're in a low hospitalization rate, 2 to 3%, and that's even lower based on age stratification. Again, don't trust my numbers on this. Check out the official government sources like Public Health Agency of Canada. And we know that this doesn't affect young people in the same way it affects old. It doesn't mean that some young people don't get sick, ill, hospitalized, and die from this, but it's not the same as somebody in their 80s or 90s. Now, you're going to have to forgive me here. I am bouncing all over the place, trying to keep up on different things here. But this is the point. This is not new. We need to understand that. But what this should be is a giant wake-up call for people. This has been ongoing for a long time, and we need to have a little imagination here and go, where does this lead? So I'm going to read something here. Now, we do have a Bill of Rights. We are protected by that Bill of Rights, but it's also, it hasn't stopped them from doing a lot of what they're doing now. It doesn't mean that when challenged in court, it won't be protected. And I recommend that people do challenge these measures in court. Maybe not under the charter, which has a notwithstanding clause, but potentially under the Bill of Rights. Again, I'm not a legal expert. Seek out a lawyer on these matters and somebody that is trained in law. Bill of Rights, Recognition, Declaration of Rights and Freedoms. It is hereby recognized and declared that in Canada, there have existed and shall continue to exist without discrimination by reason or race, national origin, color, religion, or sex, the following human rights and fundamental freedoms, namely, A, the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, and enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived thereof, except by due process of law. B, the right of the individual to equality before the law and the protection of law, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly and association, freedom of the press. Every law of Canada shall, unless expressly declared by the Act of Parliament in Canada, that it shall operate notwithstanding the Canadian Bill of Rights, meaning it would have to pass in the legislature saying it's going to operate notwithstanding the Canadian Bill of Rights, be so construed and applied as not to abrogate, abridge, or infringe to authorize the abrogation, abridgment, or infringement of any rights and freedoms herein recognized, declared. In particular, no law of Canada shall be construed or applied as to authorize or effect the arbitrary detention, imprisonment, or exile of any person, impose or authorize the imposition of cruel and unusual treatment or punishment, deprive a person who has been arrested or detained of the right to be informed promptly of the reason, a right to retain instruct counsel without delay. So we know we're familiar with these things, and the general concepts. We'll leave it at that. Now, continuing on, where could this potentially lead? Let's go into, oh my goodness, mouse. It's going to give me issues now. All right. New York Times article, thousands of New York healthcare workers get vaccinated ahead of deadline. We're going to move down here a little bit. At the same time, at least 8 lawsuits and several angry protests against mandates in New York served as a reminder that thousands of healthcare workers would likely resign or choose to be fired rather than get vaccinated. Many hospitals and nursing homes face staffing shortages before the mandate for reasons including pandemic-related burnout and the high pay being offered for traveling nurses. That means even minor staff losses because of resistance could put some patients at risk. As a result, many healthcare facilities have braced themselves activating emergency staffing plans, calling in volunteers and moving personnel to cover shifts. Implementing the mandate has become a major test for Governor Kathy Hochul, who took office in August and has made fighting COVID a top priority. The governor declared a state of emergency late Monday night that will allow her to use the National Guard to fill staffing shortages at hospital and nursing homes if needed. So again, not happening yet. This is not the same country. That's the United States, but this you can see the overlap on the emergency order here and what the concerns are. The talk about conscript people for certain positions, and really some concerning things. So the governor declared a state of emergency there and said that this will allow them to use the National Guard to fill staffing shortages at hospital and nursing homes if needed. Well, it sounds like this order, again, not a legal expert, consult someone that is, could be used for something similar. Now, it hasn't been to this point. My understanding is that it's been the same act that was put in, or the same act was referenced under the emergency order in March of 2020, and now it's the same one now. So again, not a new thing. They haven't done these things yet, but there it is. We read it out of what it says. And so again, this is kind of the convoluted position we're in right now with all of this. It's one of these things that I think people are slowly waking up, and that's why this information is kind of taking off like wildfire, because people didn't know, and it's not something that, like, we've reported on this before, and when we reported on it before, nobody seemed to care because nobody was ready to listen. We go in, Jordan Peterson talking about this game says, you think you should all ignore the risk of overreaching government poses to our rights for an illness with a 2% hospitalization rate, quote, much decreased if not elderly. I disagree. And he says, at a time where if the vaccines work as advertised, we are much safer than a year ago. And if they don't, what then? And what happens when the next serious influenza hits? Well, the emergency could be other things too. I also think about, a climate emergency. Would they ever go and declare an emergency for that? Would the public allow it? I mean, we've allowed this to go on for 19 months of them declaring emergencies and renewing them for the same thing. Now, not all the time. There was periods that it wasn't under, but there's been multiple declarations here in Ontario. I'm not sure what Saskatchewan looks like, but there was one in March. Now there's one now. I haven't looked at the rest of the landscape, but Jordan Peterson talking about it here again. And how is anti-vaxxer any different from climate change denier? And isn't the climate crisis an even bigger emergency? So here's the takeaway here. The concern is government overreach. It has been from the very beginning. It's been something we sounded the alarm off at the very beginning. It's the reason I left the reserves before going to basic, because I knew this would not end. I knew that they were going to mandate the vaccines likely, and if I was in the military, I would be forced. And I knew this was, governments don't willingly give up power. I believe this is a reflection of that. This is just my opinion. Again, go to official government sources. But again, I know you're seeing this circulating around. I know you're seeing, these big scare. Oh, look, it's this brand new thing and it's crazy. No, it is not new. Maybe that's a comfort to you, but I don't think it should be. The reality is it's been ongoing. In the emergency, we're at 19 months of the same ongoing thing. And we have more information now than we ever did. We have vaccines being rolled out that are in over 80% of the population. So how are we in the same situation that would merit an emergency declaration as we were in March of 2020? That's the real takeaway here. Now, we do have a Bill of Rights, and I want to touch on this. It can be demoralizing, and it shouldn't be. What it should be is a wake-up call. There should be challenges in the court of law. Yes, they're delaying them. Yes, they're taking a long time to get through, but we don't know what the ultimate determinant on that is. There should be as many challenges as humanly possible. I don't care if, we need to exhaust those paths first. But the reality is this has been ongoing, and the concern about government overreach has always been there. It's just maybe now you're waking up to it. You got to keep in mind, we have a prime minister that admires China's basic dictatorship. He openly admitted this at a campaign event before he was prime minister, running to be leader of the party. I can't remember exactly, but this is not new, and the alarm bells have been going off for a long time. It's just most people didn't recognize it was affecting their lives and thus allowed it to happen for a very long time. Now you're seeing that the government is walking all over your rights, and now it's affecting you, and maybe you're waking up. Maybe the novelness of this all has worn off. We're quite a ways down. I know from personal experience, members of my own family that thought I was insane at the beginning of all this from talking about this come to me like, Greg, what's going on? They're asking me questions. what's going on with this? What's going on with that? We don't know. This is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world. It's nothing new. And it's been going on for a long time. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be any less concerned. And what it really means is get active. Start doing the things that ought to have been done this whole entire time. If you've been on the sidelines, congratulations. You're now a part of it. You get to help. You have the opportunity to do the right thing. And what I'm saying is don't be mean, be compassionate, be loving, be caring. But we need to start reaching out to MLAs and email each and every day. There's a bunch of people in this watching this right now. Send out emails to your MLA with your concerns. Send out emails with the different stats that they're putting out. And this is one of the things I wanted to put out. So where are we at for an emergency right now in Saskatchewan that the merit of this is holding up on these numbers? Here's the dashboard. 2,372 sorry, I'm wrong one here. 4,770 cases, 313 hospitalized. That is where we're at. They've had 700 deaths overall. And this is, we're shutting down the entire province shutting the entire province with an emergency order on these numbers. Now, I'm not saying they're not concerning, but we've also had an entire year and a half to deal with this, understand how to deal with it, get better staff. But what was the response of the government? It was to gaslight and divide the public on this vax versus unvax issue. And a lot of these nurses that had natural immunity have been on the front lines. Yesterday's heroes are today's zeros. Get out. That's what the government decided was the appropriate response. I don't know what to make of that. I do. I'm not going to talk about it here. But you make what you will. This is not a new issue. It's been ongoing for a long time, but now you're waking up to it. And that's the real point. Now, back to our, the original here. I'm going to put it in again. If anybody wants to join the chat here, I'm going to put it in one more time. If not, we're going to get closing up here shortly for the stream. But I would love to have some audience members come in and talk about different things. I'll talk about one story here I have. I'm dealing with a gentleman on the phone. I'm going to talk in generics here, but basically, there's a lot of threats going on in the workplaces, different things, because a lot of people don't have the means to go without pay and fight it out in court. But don't quit, make them fire you. That's first off. That needs to happen. Secondly, start doing the things we ought to have been doing this entire time. Messaging your members of legislative assembly, messaging your local politicians, your mayors, etc., with your concerns. Talk about these things logically. I mean, how are we still in the same boat today that we were in March of 2020? It seems like that should be one of the things that's coming up. There needs to be an answer from politicians, especially with a safe and effective vaccine where over 80% of the population is taking it. So these are the real big questions. How are we still in a state of emergency all this time later with the rollout of a vaccine that's safe and effective? Okay, we got somebody coming in here. I see a few coming in. So we're going to bring in Maggie. Nope, can't unmute your guest. They chose to unmute themselves. So Maggie, I see you in the back here. You're just going to have to unmute yourself. And as soon as I see that unmute, I can pull you in for a conversation here. Again, join us if you'd like to have a quick conversation about what's going on. We'll try to keep it to about 5 minutes. And I want to hear the stories of what's going on in your own world. And we'll try to get more of the community involved. I think that's an important thing to do going forward. Did I have something else for you? I did. So I'm going to pull this up here. Now, there's different things. I know we're worn out and we feel like beaten down on a lot of these things. But for instance, BC Human Rights Tribunal dismisses complaint from woman denied service for not wearing a mask. Now, let's start off by saying the Human Rights Tribunal is not the same as a court of law. They're not the same. They don't have the same jurisdiction. It's not the same as challenging it on a charter challenge or on a Bill of Rights challenge. So that's the first thing you need to know. Continuing on. BC Human Rights Tribunal has dismissed a complaint from a woman who argued that a jewelry store discriminated against her for refusing to serve her when she declined to put on a mask. Now, in the decision from the judge, he wrote that on the limited information complaint, because Rael did not respond to the store's application to dismiss and provided only minimal information in her complaint form. On the form, Rael claims she had a disability, which she described as breathing issues, and cannot wear a mask, according to Singh's decision. Asked on the form how the alleged discrimination related to her disability, Riello wrote, "My human rights were denied. Mask wearing is not a law." So again, right off the top, we know that's not the strongest case. If you're trying to break through, I'm not going to argue on the semantics of whether or not you should be forced to or not. But you know, if you have a medical exemption, it would help if you're going to take it to a court of law to have the medical exemption present. Looks like Nikki dropped out here. In response to the complaint, the jewelry store's owner, Susan Cartwright Coates, acknowledged denying Sarah Suriel, saying the store had implemented a mandatory mask policy to comply with public health orders and prevent the spread of COVID-19. The respondents acknowledged the people with disabilities have the right to be accommodated, which may mean exempting them from the requirement to wear a mask or finding other ways to accommodate their disability needs. Singh writes it's a decision. However, they say Ms. Riel at no time advised them that she had a disability or otherwise needed accommodation. So that was the justification to dismiss that one. So again, law is nuanced. There's a lot of different things at play, but I recommend if you're being threatened with your job, don't quit, get fired, get in touch with a lawyer. Don't take this sitting down. And this isn't a new thing. So welcome to the Thunderdome, and you're realizing what's going on around you. But this is not new. This is just it's become very, very, very real for a lot of people. So I'm going to go through the comments here and we'll continue on as we get some. Mr. Long-Term Care in Ontario just announced today that all employees have to get the jab or they're going to be fired. Have you seen this? I've seen a bit of it. I haven't had enough time to actually go through that document, Walter. I'll let you know when I get a chance. Where else we got? Again, StreamYard link in the link and in the comments as well. If you want to join us in the back room here and have a quick chat about what this has been about, or what this has been like in your life, how it's played out in your family, we'd love to hear from you. Now, the justice in Canada, pure insanity. It feels that way, doesn't it? Feels that way. Many judges, our liberal judges, have been appointed all across Canada. Good luck in the court. You know what? You may be right, Tim. But at the end of the day, it needs to be fought there, I believe, very strongly in that. And need to exhaust all resources that are available to us. And I'll just leave it at that. Welcome to Australia 2.0. Not there yet. We're not there yet. Watching from our fire side of our trailer. Thanks, Greg. Thanks for joining me by the fire. That's a pretty sweet place to be watching. So I think that's a pretty good place to end if we don't have anybody who wants to come in for the show. I'm going to leave it open for a minute here. But just a heads up, again, I am back working full-time, and Diverge Media is still going to continue on, but I am working quite frankly, I'm going to be working full-time doing this on the side with as much time as I can. But it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot more shorter articles. The research stuff takes a long time to do. So those will fall off a bit. But we have some personal stories coming out. In touch with a few people right now. I'm hoping these stories will come to fruition. It's going to take some time. But at the end of the day, if you want to help, where's the link? Killing me, Tim. I'll put it in one more time. Again, this is last call. If you want to join in, should be on both. Should be if you're in the live chat, maybe. How do I pin this? I don't know how to pin it. Anyway, I just put it in there. If you want to join us, again, both comments there. StreamYard link. You click that, you'll come in the back room, and I can let you in. We'll go from there. And yeah, so on the Delta variant, I mean I cover the UK data. Let's see if I can find it. Why I'm cheerleading the Delta variant. So I put this out quite a few months ago, and it didn't get as much attention again that I thought it deserved. But maybe I have high hopes for my work. But it's from the UK data itself. We're going to pull that up. I'm going to read it out to you. As far as I know, the data hasn't changed astronomically since then. If somebody has newer information, again, check out the official government sources like Public Health Agency of Canada and other government websites for your information. These are my opinions. I am not qualified to speak on these matters. There we go. Got it all out again. Why I'm cheerleading the Delta variant on to become the dominant variant. It's less lethal. So I wrote this. When did I write this? Quite a few months ago now. We wrote it July 6th of this year. So Let's get down. Public Health Agency of Canada is Public Health England is an executive agency of the Department of Health and Social Care that provides the UK government, parliament, and national health services, among others, with evidence-based professional scientific expertise and support. On June 18th of 2021, the agency released a paper that showed that the Delta variant was much less lethal than that of the Alpha variant, contrary to what the academic COVID doomers have been telling the public. So Alpha variant, 224,000 cases, case fatality rate reported by the Public Health Agency of England. Again, not my opinion at this time. This is the Public Health Agency of England's own data from June of 2021. 1.9% case fatality on the Alpha. Now on the Delta, it had 60,655 cases with a case fatality rate of 0.1%. So this means that it's roughly 19 times less lethal. Do with that what you will. Again, that was the beginning of March 2020, when they implemented the first emergency orders across these provinces. That was what the case was. The case fatality rate with Alpha variant was 1.9%. Then now what we have now, at least it's the dominant variant here in Ontario. I'm not sure about Saskatchewan, but it's Delta, and its case fatality rate, according to the UK, again, don't know what its rate is here. We're not going on that data. We're going on Public Health England, was 0.1%. So we have to ask the question, how are we still in the same situation that merits these measures all this time later with a variant that's much less lethal, according to Public Health England? Again, consult the official sources here in Canada for more information. I don't know. And the real question is, why are we allowing it to still go on? Message your politicians, email them, get them to voice their support publicly, call for them to voice their support publicly and in the House. And I would recommend many people do that every single day. All right. If you are being threatened at work, I'm not a lawyer, contact a lawyer, but I would recommend that you don't quit. Force their hand, force them to fire you. All right. If I made it very clear yet, not new information, very concerning information, should be a giant wake up call. I have the comment, the StreamYard link there. It doesn't look like we have any takers. I'm bummed out because I really want to hear from you guys. And I want to make this part of the regular show to bring people in. So I know it's a big deal to get, actually in front of an audience and speak, but you don't have to have your video or your webcam, just need to be able to hear you. Again, it's up in the comment section, but we'll leave it at that. I don't think we have any takers. So thank you for joining us. It's not a new issue. It's a very concerning issue. Should be a big wake-up call. Yes, it is an official government order, government emergency declaration. The nurses in Saskatchewan shared it out. It has, it is happened, but it also happened last year. The question is, why is it still happening? Why is it still happening? That's the real takeaway from all this information. Thank you, everyone, for joining Diverge Media. I'm Greg Staley, the owner of Diverge Media. If you want to help out to, help me be able to do this full time, it takes money. So I know everybody's tight right now, but we take donations at divergemedia.ca. We also have merchandise at our shop. We have hats, and my favorite is our t-shirt. Our Media is a Virus t-shirt. Simply put, media is a virus, and viruses infect lots of people. In the case of the media infects lots of people with information. That information can be good or be bad. Diverge Media hopes we're providing good, balanced information for everyone. And so check out that Media is a Virus t-shirt, $35 plus shipping and taxes for both the hat and the t-shirt. Thank you for joining us. This has been a blast. I'll see you next time.